Move, yo.
学会做你的爱人，我生命中最爱的人啊，请不要拒绝心中火热感受，可不可以再爱我一次，做一个幸福的女人。我时常一个人独自彷徨，也时常一个人独自流浪。我希望你能回心转意，再像从前那样的爱我。我知道你不会把我遗忘，也不会抛弃我独自飞翔。我时常流连在你家门前，盼望你能够看我一眼。我一生中最爱的人啊，我醒来梦中还是你的样子，可不可以再爱我一次，让我学会做你的爱人。我生命中最爱的人啊，请不要拒绝心中火热感受，可不可以再爱我一次，做一个幸福的女人。我一生中最爱的人啊，我醒来梦中还是你的样子，可不可以再爱我一次，让我学会做你的爱人。我生命中最爱的人啊，请不要拒绝心中火热感受，可不可以再爱我一次，做一个幸福的女人。
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because who I'm behind the fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit.
all is possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got any